This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all.
Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and today we've all woken up to a bit of a market sell-off. So I thought what I would do is talk about Deepseek briefly, because it seems that a lot of people think that this is a black swan that showed up. So first of all, I think if you've clicked the thumbnail, I'm probably going to clickbait it, I'm not going to lie. So if you've clicked it and you're panicked, step number one, don't be panicking. Never any need to panic in markets. Step number two is to let me present to you what's going on with Deepseek. There's a lot of mixed emotions out there, so I'm going to show you both sides of that. There's some people that think it's absolutely nothing, and there's some people that are using it to kind of doom post and rage bait. And then as always, we're going to take a look at some charts, because it's actually kind of interesting to me that over the weekend, I was talking about seeing some pullbacks, and then I made a members video and said that we're looking for pullbacks. And then all of a sudden we've woken up on Monday and indeed we've got pullbacks. Now, admittedly, I was not expecting the pullbacks to be straight down like this. I was expecting much more of an orderly decline over a few days. And we're also going to talk about whether or not we can expect the market to actually kind of bottom here. And maybe this is just a big flash crash on Monday. I wouldn't even call it a crash. It's not big enough for me to call it a crash, but you know, a quick kind of shakeout. Can we find a bottom here, or is this the start of the end, right? So we'll talk about all of that today. First things first, I want to talk about Deepseek. In case you're unfamiliar with it, I'm going to play you this clip of this guy explaining it.
What is Deepseek? Well, it's a Chinese AI chatbot that rivals the likes of ChatGPT and Google. The estimated cost to train Deepseek's latest model was just over $5 million. Compare that to the billions spent on other competing models, and it's easy to see why the tech and investment community are rather nervous over Deepseek. If Chinese copycats can appear out of nowhere for $5 million, NVIDIA's days of selling expensive GPUs, they're going to be over. But not so fast. Initially, the claims were Deepseek used just over 2,000 NVIDIA GPUs. Due to sanctions here in the United States, Chinese companies don't have access to the latest and greatest chips made by NVIDIA. Or do they? This week, multiple people within the tech community are calling bullshit on the claims Deepseek was set up on a shoestring. Instead of using 2,000 GPUs to train a model, they estimate the company actually has 50,000. Deepseek's founders can't talk about the extra horsepower because H100s are banned from being sold to Chinese entities. The 50,000 total would exceed the number used by OpenAI to actually train GPT-4.
All right. That's enough. That's enough for that guy. Okay, but you get the point, right? They created like a GPT type thing. They released it. Allegedly, it was done for a fraction of the cost. This has caused people to suggest that maybe nobody needs to buy chips from NVIDIA anymore. And maybe, just maybe, since NVIDIA carries the stock market on its back, this is going to lead to a top coming in. Maybe this is the black swan in disguise. But as is typical with China, we can't really trust the data. We can't really say for sure that they did only use 2,000 GPUs. They may have used 50,000, in which case it's really not a black swan at all, right? So my gut feeling here, and it is just a gut feeling, is people are overreacting to this. And again, as a subtle reminder, we were looking for pullbacks this week and we seem to have got one. So we'll get to the charts in a minute. That's the first thing though, okay? This is what the whole Deepseek narrative is at the moment. There's some speculation that we might have just seen the end of a requirement for chips from NVIDIA, and thus we might have one of the companies from the Mag 7 about to be selling off. And if the Mag 7 are going to start to sell off, then of course the stock market is not going to do very well. That's the idea anyway. Now, as is typical, the accounts that are good at zooming in and taking screenshots of price action and then using it to wind people up and cause panic are doing just that, okay? And as is also typical, the accounts that are more stoic in their approach to markets, they don't seem to think there's too much to this, right? Yeah, a breakthrough of this scale is bearish. I mean, he could be right. I think I kind of lean on the side that Bob is more right than these kind of doom mongers and panic sellers type accounts. But it is objectively true that if something like this whole Deepseek thing can remove some of the hardware requirement from NVIDIA, then it might look eerily similar to what we saw back in the dot-com bubble. And in case you don't know what I'm talking about, okay, this is actually a lot more eerily similar than you might think. So if this is an actual threat, then NVIDIA could find itself in a situation eerily similar to what Cisco faced back in the dot-com bubble. During the bubble, Cisco was a dominant supplier of networking equipment, riding a wave of massive demand and startups as tech companies scrambled to build internet infrastructure. When the bubble burst, many of these companies went bankrupt, and the market was flooded with second-hand Cisco equipment. Demand for new hardware evaporated, and Cisco's meteoric growth stalled for years. In NVIDIA's case, the booming AI industry has created a gold rush for GPUs, with startups and tech giants investing billions into its hardware. Many AI startups have purchased thousands of GPUs from Nvidia to train models and operate their businesses. But if Deepseek disrupts the need for such hardware, or leads to widespread failures in these startups, then a flood of second-hand Nvidia GPUs could hit the market, mimicking the post-bubble scenarios Cisco endured. So if we saw a bunch of bankrupt startups flooding the market, many AI startups would ditch their GPU inventories, and they would be forced to liquidate their hardware, which of course would drive down the value of the new GPUs, since you could just go and buy a bunch of second-hand ones. The startups operating data centers renting Nvidia GPUs may also be unable to generate sufficient returns on their investment, further saturating the market with unused GPUs. And if we get slowdown from the Mag 7, major tech companies who have driven much of Nvidia's growth may slow or even halt GPU purchases, with thousands of existing GPUs already underutilized and sitting idle in warehouses. And this potential chain reaction could cause the perfect storm for Nvidia, which would be very similar to how Cisco's core business unraveled. And here's how this parallels Cisco from back in the dot-com bubble. They had overproduction and oversupply. Both companies thrived during the speculative boom, producing hardware at unprecedented levels to meet demand, but when the demand collapsed, they faced an oversaturated market. They had huge dependence on startups. Just as Cisco relied on dot-com companies, Nvidia has tied its success to AI startups, which are inherently high risk. For Cisco, bankrupt companies flooded the market with second-hand equipment, and for Nvidia, a similar flood of GPUs could drastically reduce the demand for new hardware, and Cisco's dominance was followed by years of slow growth due to declining orders. Nvidia could, in theory, face a similar fate if demand from both startups and tech giants weakened. And of course, the broader implications for the industry are that companies relying on expensive GPUs might pivot to new AI paradigms, leaving Nvidia with reduced relevance in its transformed market. Nvidia's current valuation could face significant correction if growth slowed and the second-hand market undercuts new sales. And other companies in the AI hardware ecosystem could also face fallout, especially those directly dependent on Nvidia's dominance. So Nvidia has been at the forefront of the AI boom, just like Cisco was at the forefront for the internet revolution. However, history has shown us that over-reliance on speculative demand and an oversaturated market can challenge even the most dominant companies. So undeniably, the parallels are there. Okay, now it doesn't mean it has to repeat. It doesn't mean this has to occur immediately even. This could repeat years in the future. It could not repeat at all. But it seems that right now it's pretty easy to grab hold of these headlines and say, that's it, Black Swan, it's all over, Cisco 2.0 is about to repeat. But again, as a reminder, I want to kind of point at this and say, it's probably not even based on real data, right? They probably didn't train Deepseek with just 2,000 GPUs. Another idea behind this market sell-off is that it could be to do with the tariffs that we're seeing DT bring in. And I'm pretty sure the tariff on Colombia is actually 50%. So it could be this, right? It could be this as well. It could be a combination of both things. Maybe institutions have just kind of figured out they can grab hold of this news and shake the tree a bit here. And there's also a good chance that this might be over, because note this here, this was posted the 26th of Jan from Big Mike, and he was pointing out that until we can flip 107 to 108k into support, we remain at risk of a sub-wave 2 down to 98k. And where are we right now? Well, so far, we have appeared to have stopped right around 98k. Okay, so it could definitely get worse, but if you think about it, it doesn't seem too crazy, right? It might actually just be a shakeout, and we've just completed 1 into 2 with 3, 4, and 5 about to unfold. So maybe, just maybe, it's not that bad, right? Also, if we draw our eyes to my downward slope in red, maybe this is breakout retest getting ready for resumption. That would fit Big Mike's idea. And even if we have to kind of range in here, you know, the Camel Crew has been talking about this exact scenario, wasting 30 days of time for a while. So far, I know there's some panic out there. I know it's easy to garner attention and views by saying, that's it, Black Swan is all over, okay, we're all going to die. But the reality is, this is not actually anything yet. Now, it could certainly become something, right? If we start to come down here, if we start to make new lows, then we can talk about having actual technical damage. But as it stands right now, I don't think this is too much to be concerned about. And when we start to look at more on-chain metrics, okay, at the top in orange is the long-term holder supply, and in green at the bottom is the short-term holder supply. Now, what do you notice? At a major top here in black for Bitcoin, we see the orange become significantly inverted. And at the same time, we see the green push significantly to the upside. Notice how at the next major top, we go inverted significantly in the orange, okay, and we push significantly to the upside in the green. And what have we got at the moment? At the moment, it looks like we're getting ready to invert in the orange and getting ready to push to the upside in the green. All the while expecting, therefore, Bitcoin to make higher highs. So at least based on this one on-chain metric, which is the long versus short-term holder supply, it doesn't actually look like we've got a top in place here. It doesn't look like calling a top here is the correct posture. You can also see the retail investor volume, 30-day change, is also suggesting we're at a level where we could see a further upside push. Notice down here in the red, okay, leads to a big push in the price of Bitcoin. Notice down here in the red leads to a big push in the price of Bitcoin. That might not look like much, but that is a 100% move. Notice again, the next time we're majorly oversold in red, okay, we see approximately a doubling from about 35 to about 75k. The next time as well, we double again from 49 to about 100k. And now look how oversold we are at the hard right edge. So it doesn't really look to me like we can seriously be entertaining tops here for the price of Bitcoin, at least based on these two metrics. And I've got another metric here, which is the total supply last active 5 to 7 years ago. So notice what happens. This orange metric forms a top and rolls over significantly, and that rollover and downside scenario sees Bitcoin accelerate to the upside. We see the same thing here, okay, rollover, synonymous with a big push for Bitcoin, and at the hard right edge, this look is exactly the same to what we saw in 2017. We are rolling over and expecting this thing to push significantly to the upside before this thing, of course, bottoms out and turns back up. So it seems to me, at least, to be malpractice to be calling tops here. Now, as ever, things can change and they can change quickly. Risk happens fast. If we start to produce 3 or 4 more negative 3, 4, 5% days in the price of Bitcoin, okay, if we start to fail these cycles, we start to close daily candles below the cycle lows, then we can say, okay, the market is proving to us that the bears are heavily in control. But for now, it's kind of hard for me to get too upset about what I'm seeing, okay? So as ever, we'll keep taking it one day at a time. We'll keep letting the cycles guide us. As for gold, gold's holding up pretty well. But again, we've been talking about for a long time now, waiting for this pullback into a cycle low to get to full exposure. So no real changes there. And this gap in the VIX was totally unexpected by me. And if we go to the S&P 500, I'll use the US 500 as my proxy because that will give us a real-time candle. That's a pretty big, significant downside day, right? I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. That's not nothing. But objectively speaking, breakout, possible retest, possible resumption, and as the level 3 members know, and in fact I think I even said this in the deep dive on Saturday's video, I was saying that this whole setup at the hard right edge feels eerily similar to me to this. And so you can see, whilst I was not expecting to complete this entire downside retest in 1 or 2 daily candles, okay, I was expecting this to take a little while longer into a half cycle low, ultimately it's not super different, right? So cycles seem to be doing cycle things. Yes, risk happens fast. That's why we continue to be objective and calm and take things one day at a time. But so far, I don't really think it looks like a black swan to me. So far, I don't really see any reason to be panicking here or cutting positions or jumping up and down and screaming it's over. And so far, it seems to me like we've been looking for a higher low to come in. And hopefully what we're going to get is a higher low come in with some retests across the board. So as ever, we'll keep taking it one day at a time. It may well be the case that just a couple of days' time, the VIX has resolved back down here somewhere. And the S&P 500, let's use this US 500 again, has completed something akin to this, half cycle low, and is pushing off, okay? And Bitcoin, perhaps, has completed 1 into 2 and is getting ready for 3, 4, and 5, okay? As per Big Mike's chart. Or maybe in the worst case scenario, this is what's coming, right? In which case, absolutely nothing is out of the ordinary. So, as ever, one day at a time, we'll see what the market can give. I'm your boy Camel. I hope you didn't get too panicked today. I hope you're doing well in life. And until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.
Camel Finance, he's the man to see, rocking the markets with his contrarian spree. Trades like a pro, no fear, no shame, sticking to his guns in his money game. He's a badass, oh yes indeed. Camel Finance got the markets key, taking us stormies